In a forgotten alleyway of a bustling city, beneath skies bruised with gray clouds and rain that soaked the cracked pavement, a small girl no older than 5 clutched a golden ring in her tiny hand, her last hope to save her mother. Her coat was too thin for the cold, and her shoes had long surrendered to the damp, but none of it mattered. She had made a promise to herself. She would do whatever it took to help her mom. Her name was Sophie Langston, a bright-eyed, strong-willed child who bore far too much weight for someone so young. Her mother, Grace Langston, had been battling a relentless fever for days in their decaying apartment on Elmwood Terrace. The medicine she needed was too expensive, and food had become scarce. Grace tried to smile through the pain, tried to sing lullabies when Sophie cried at night, but the truth weighed heavily in the stale air of their home. One morning, while looking for her crayons under the old bed, Sophie's hand brushed against a loose wooden plank. Curious, she pried it up and found a small, dusty box tucked beneath the floor. Inside lay a golden ring, delicate and beautifully crafted. It shimmered with a quiet elegance, even in the dim light of the apartment. Sophie turned it in her fingers and saw a name engraved inside. Grace M. Langston. That moment became a turning point. Sophie, despite her fear, knew what she had to do. She slipped the ring into her coat pocket, kissed her mother's forehead, and stepped outside, locking the door quietly behind her. The rain had not stopped. It clung to her eyelashes and soaked through her clothes, but she kept walking, her eyes scanning the faces of strangers. "Please, will you buy this ring?" she asked again and again. Most people hurried past, barely looking down at her. Others muttered apologies, more concerned with their phones and umbrellas than a shivering child. Eventually, Sophie found herself in front of the sleek glass facade of Hawthorne Global Enterprises. Men in tailored suits exited the building in clusters, their laughter echoing beneath the awning. Sophie stood awkwardly until one man, tall, sharply dressed, and about to enter a waiting car, caught her attention. She tugged on his coat gently. "Please, sir, will you buy this ring? My mom, she's really sick." The man turned, startled. His name was Andrew Hawthorne, CEO of the Billion-Dollar Corporation. He took the ring absent-mindedly, expecting it to be a trinket or a toy. But when he saw the engraving inside, his breath caught. His knees nearly gave way. "Grace," he whispered, his voice ragged and unsteady. He hadn't heard that name in years. Not since the days when his life wasn't consumed by quarterly reports and boardroom deals. Not since he had walked away from a love that had once been his entire world. "Your name is?" he asked, kneeling. "Sophie. Sophie Langston." His heart stopped. Grace had once told him she would name her daughter Sophie if she ever had one. Could it be? Could this child be? "Where do you live, Sophie?" With hesitation, Sophie described the small apartment on Elmwood Terrace. Without a moment's delay, Andrew lifted her gently and placed her in the car with him. As they drove through the city's winding, rain-slicked streets, he felt the weight of every year that had passed, every mistake he had made. When they arrived at the building, Andrew was struck by the dilapidated state of it. The paint peeled from the walls. The elevator had long since stopped working. He followed Sophie up creaking stairs, past flickering lights, and into the small apartment. And there she was, Grace. She lay barely conscious, her face pale, her skin clammy. Even in this fragile state, she was the same woman he remembered, beautiful, proud, strong. Andrew knelt beside her. "Grace, it's me. It's Andrew." Her eyes fluttered open slowly. At first, she thought he was a ghost or a memory come to torment her. But as reality set in, the old pain returned like a blade. "What are you doing here?" she rasped. "Sophie found me. She had your ring." Grace turned to her daughter and whispered, You found that?" "I wanted to help," Sophie replied tearfully. Andrew acted fast, calling in private doctors, ambulances, and even a helicopter if needed. Grace was soon admitted to St. Helena General, one of the best hospitals in the city. During her recovery, Andrew stayed by Sophie's side. He read her stories, drew with her, made her laugh in ways that reminded him of a time long gone. But Grace, even as her body healed, held her heart guarded. When she finally regained her strength, She called Andrew to her hospital room. "I need to say this once," she began. "You broke me. You left when I needed you most. I told you I was pregnant, and you vanished into your career." "I know," Andrew said quietly, his voice weighed down with shame. "I was a coward. I chose ambition over love. I regret it every day." Grace's eyes filled with tears, not of pity, but years of pent-up sorrow. "You weren't there for her first steps, her first words. You weren't there when she had the flu or when we couldn't afford food. You don't get to waltz back in now just because you feel guilty." "I'm not asking for forgiveness," he said. "I'm asking for a chance to do better. For Sophie. For you. I will do anything." She stared at him for a long time, and though her words were harsh, somewhere inside, a part of her wanted to believe him. Then came the night when Sophie overheard the truth. She sat at the top of the stairs, listening as Grace confirmed that Andrew was her biological father. The world shifted under her. That night, she packed her little backpack, took her teddy bear, and disappeared into the rain. When Grace and Andrew found her missing, panic set in. They combed the streets, shouting her name through alleys, parks, bus stops, and train stations. Hours passed. Dread grew heavier. They found her at last in Rosewood Park, curled up on a bench, soaked to the bone. "Are you going to leave me too?" she asked Andrew as he knelt beside her. His heart shattered. "Never. I will never leave you, Sophie. I swear." Grace joined them moments later, wrapping her arms around them both, tears streaming down her face. In that soaked, trembling embrace, something began to heal. Not everything, not instantly, but something important. In the weeks that followed, Andrew proved he was serious. He turned down international conferences, handed over executive duties to his COO, and rented an apartment in the same building to be near Sophie. He showed up to parent-teacher meetings, helped with homework, and tucked Sophie in at night with bedtime stories. Grace remained cautious, but she couldn't deny the changes in him. His arrogance was gone, replaced with humility. His ambition tempered by presence. He was learning to listen, to care, to stay. One afternoon, Sophie, while drawing at the kitchen table, looked up and asked, "Will you ever marry Mommy again?" Andrew chuckled, glancing at Grace. "Only if she wants me to." Grace smiled, not with certainty, but with the quiet peace of a heart that was no longer broken, only healing. On a warm evening, as the sun painted golden rays across the city skyline, Grace sat on the front steps watching Sophie chase fireflies. Andrew joined her silently. "You don't have to say anything," she said. "Just don't go away again." "I won't," he replied. "Not ever." The stars blinked to life above them, and together they sat in quiet understanding. They were far from perfect, but they were whole. And for now, that was enough.